So, so good afternoon, everyone. This is Rakesh Rao, Executive Editor of Industrial Product Finder. Welcomes you to this virtual panel discussion on Shopfloor of the future. Sorry for the delay because there are some technical glitches at the start of the webinar. So this webinar is the third in the series that we are hosting as a part of IPF 3I Expo, which is going to be held in the month of May at Nehru Center in Mumbai. The first 3I Expo series, the first webinar in this series on the topic of Vision 2025 for the Indian manufacturing sector on February was held on February 23rd, and the second webinar with the theme of Atmanirbharta through manufacturing excellence was hosted on March 15th. We will share more details about the 3I Expo later today during the webinar. So before we begin the today's proceeding, let me share a few words about Industrial Product Finder. Industrial Product Finder, also known as IPF, is a 51-year-old industrial publication which reaches to more than 1 lakh monthly readers through its magazine and website, that is ipfonline.com. It offers an assortment of news, views, interviews, well-researched articles, and product information. In addition, IPF also hosts annually IPF Industrial Excellence Awards for innovative products and innovative product, fastest growing companies, entrepreneurs, and the emerging startups of the year. Besides, IPF also offers industries news on mobile on the WhatsApp, which is known as iNow for the readers who wants industry updates on the move. Since its inception in 1971, IPF has been playing a pivotal role in providing information about latest products and technology to fulfill the needs of Indian manufacturers. With manufacturing sector getting ready for smart, connected, and Industry 4.0 compliant factories, Industrial Product Finder is all set to be a trusted partner in this journey. As part of this effort, IPF will be hosting the second edition of 3I Expo in May, along with the Factories of the Future conference and the seventh IPF Industrial Excellence Award. The 2D event will bring all the stakeholders who are involved in increasing productivity and green quotient of factories on one platform. With this, I request my colleague, Ms. Rushali, to share more details about 3I Expo. Over to you, Rushali.
Thank you, Rakesh. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third webinar in the series of 3I Expo. Manufacturing in India has emerged as one of the growth sectors, and with our Prime Minister's focus on Make in India, it is putting India on the world manufacturing map. Lately, we have seen that almost 70% of manufacturers are increasing their digitization efforts and investing, roughly around 5% of their revenues to bring about a smart factory or smart connectivity in their manufacturing units. Thus, we thought that there is a need for a platform to understand the level of automation, learn about tech-driven business models, get inspired from different control technologies available. And with that objective, Industrial Product Finder has come up with this platform or designed this platform 3I Expo, which is a conglomeration of an exhibition floor, Factories of the Future conference, and awards. Rakesh just mentioned about the Industrial Product Finder. I will just take a moment and stop here. If you want to get updates on the go, please give a missed call to the number on your screen and you will get regular updates. This talks about our digital presence. So as I mentioned that leadership focused events that brings all the aspects, right from operations to engineering to manufacturing under one roof for a 2-day knowledge sharing session on how, where you can explore strategies to optimize, modernize, train, and innovate across all your manufacturing facilities. Here on the Explore 4, we can look at the technology and prepare our organization for a transformation. We can look at the high-end tools that are available, expand our knowledge through the keynote addresses, panel discussions that are there, where we can connect with the industry leaders, industry peers, and take our manufacturing game to the next level with 3i Expo and Factories of the Future conference. Last year was the first edition that we did. We had around 50 plus speakers over 2 days. An excellent exhibition floor. These were some of our past partners. Some of the eminent personalities who were present for the conference and shared their experience, expertise with everyone present. For the second edition of 3i Expo, we are looking at creating a platform for SMEs and industrial manufacturing sector to display their products, talk about most trending technologies that are available, like robotics, AI, ML, advanced automation, etc. And the sixth Industrial Excellence Awards acknowledges the fastest growing manufacturing companies in India. This is the Explore floor. We are connecting with the industrial associations, with people who are actually the SMEs who are working and looking for automation solutions. So this will be the right platform for everyone to showcase their products and connect with the right buyers who are there in the market. The main attraction, of course, is the Factories of the Future conference at 3i Expo. Here we discuss about the IT landscape for manufacturing. We have a specific masterclass which gives the MSMEs a 5-step automation guide to their automation journey. We talk about redesigning Shopfloor, which would be a continuation to today's webinar, and many more sessions like this to discuss what are the leading trends in automation for manufacturing. This year, the award categories, the nominations have already started. The link to a nomination is on the Industrial Product Finder website. If not, you can connect with any of our team members and we will be happy to help you. This is the last year's jury. Some testimonials from the last year that we have done. And with this, I request everyone to save the date and get in touch with our team if you need any more details about the event. Rakesh, over to you.
Thank you, Brushari, for your presentation. And let's move on to our next agenda of the day. So the much awaited foreign trade policy was unveiled by the Union Minister of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Piyush Goyal, last month on 31st of March, which aims to increase the India's exports to $2 trillion by 2030. That is accounting for about 20% of the GDP by then. To achieve this ambitious goal, the manufacturing activity needs to grow many folds. Hence, the factory shop floor cannot be the same like before. Factories will have to deploy modern manufacturing technologies to make the entire production process more efficient, productive, and cost effective while improving the product quality and flexibility. India will also have to build a skilled manpower pool to, capable of servicing the $5 trillion economy by before 2030. At the same time, India will have to achieve the manufacturing milestones by meeting the sustainability goal targets. Against this background, today's panel discussion will discuss the strategies and the processes required to build factories that will meet the present requirement as well as make factories future ready. With this opening remarks, I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists for today's discussion. I would request all the panelists to switch on their videos. So we have Mr. Kushal Kalra, who is currently working as the global head of operations excellence at ACG Capsule. He has more than 16 years of experience in manufacturing operations, quality, supply chain, and P&L management across automobile, industrial product manufacturing, e-commerce, and Industry 4.0 consulting. Skilled in lean manufacturing, Sigma, Industry 4.0, and change management. Mr. Kushal has facilitated more than 100 plus transformation projects working with organizations like Amazon, Wipro, L&T, and CNH Industrial. Then we have Mr. Mudit Agarwal, who is the founder and CEO of Agri Tech Services. He is a business value focused digital and IT professional with 28 years of experience in FMCG, food, telecom, and manufacturing industries with companies like Unilever, Domino's, Bharti Airtel, Tata Teleservices, and Uflex at various levels and as a CIO in the later years. Mr. Agarwal is an active speaker at universities, educational institute, and industry forums and has been honored with industry recognition and awards. Then we have Ms. Niti Sharma, who is the co-founder and president of Teams Leads EdTech. She is a proven business leader with 30 years plus years of experience, having a diverse experience in the corporate sector with government bodies and educational institute pan India. Recently, she was featured among the top 100 women leaders globally in tech space by Honor LLQ. She is also the management representative for Teamly Skills University, that is India's first skill university. Then we have Mr. Saju SR, who is currently the Senior Vice President and Manufacturing Head of Smart Power Division of Electrification Business in ABB India, managing P&L. Mr. Saju has been with ABB since 2010, 2011, and has an overall industry experience of 23 plus years. He is instrumental in digitizing the smart power factory and implementing Industry 4.0 and 5.0 technologies, making it one of the benchmark units. And we also have Mr. Vikas Makija, who is currently working as Director Sales, South Asia Cluster at Festo India. He joined Festo in 2001 and has successfully handled various sales leadership. He has 30 years of experience and expertise in industrial automation field. He has degree in Bachelor of Engineering, Instrumentation and Marketing Management from Premier Institute in Mumbai. So on behalf of IPF, I would welcome you all for this panel discussion. Looking forward to an engaging discussion with you all. So let's start the ball rolling with first question to Mr. Kushal Karla. Mr. Kushal, how do you analyze the present status of manufacturing in India with respect to the adoption of modern technologies and processes?
Hey, hi, good afternoon, Rakesh. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, so like predominantly, so if you'll see manufacturing that is being spread across in India, it all started with the basics of uh, a process oriented layouts or a product oriented layouts built in around to deliver the volumes that is being asked for customers. But then later part, which we have learned primarily from Japanese or from Europeans, that we have moved away from just a product flow concept to to integrated value stream concepts. And when I say integrated value stream concepts, so it is more of taking care of all the support functions which adds value into manufacturing. So the thought process of integrated stores, thought process of warehouse management system, thought process of skilled manpower, all came in place. And uh, and then and then like beyond that, we started stitching around all these functions together so that they start delivering the value which is being intended to give it to a customer from the cost point of view, from quality point of view. Now technology plays a very important role while we talk of the entire integrated value stream. So technology is something which plays a very important role. And when I say technology, it's not just a digital technology, it is more to do with physical technology. And over the past couple of years, industries across the segments, be it automotive, pharmaceutical, FMCGs, have invested into the physical technology. So they have automated their process to an extent possible. And when I say extent possible, it is purely appropriate automation I'm talking of. So there is an area wherein they feel to be automated. And once that automation was being done, now moving away from automation to autonomous process is something which digital is helping. And when I say digital, it is more of connecting everything together stitch by stitch, and then ensuring that all these machines, processes speak to each other. So over the past couple of years, the shift has moved away from uh, just a factory or a workshop to a smart factory or a smart workshop. And when we say smart, the definition of smart is very vivid all across. So it all depends on what kind of deliverables you are looking in for. Uh, Typically, industries across India are moving aggressively into that domain of Industry 4.0. And if we'll see the majority of investment in the last 1 year, we have spent close to around $5 billion only in India, which talks of uh, the deployment of Industry 4.0 across the different segments. And automation is taking a lead all across. When I say automation, automotive sector is taking a lead all across, followed by pharmaceutical, FMCG, and chemical backgrounds. Now, uh, across the globe, if I talk of almost like to an extent of 33% of the overall spend goes into India. And this is a good sign when we are talking of Atmanirbhar or like Make in India, wherein we are relying on technological improvements rather than just uh, ad hoc conventional improvements. So the takeaway which I feel primarily when it comes to the forecast of the way industrial segment will move across into India sector, definitely there will be a very hard push going across the digital side. And since by now every one of us have experienced something into digital from a POC point of view, so the journey we'll see now moving away from POC to realizing the benefits. And so a typical focus goes into OEMs, followed by B2C. The thrust is still now on MSME. So MSME is still an area which is struggling, and that struggle will continue for a while till the time we come up with a cost-effective technology. So overall, the way I see technology push is primarily on industrial automation, on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and this is what, in fact, if you'll see recently, so we have come up with Chat GPT. That's a disruptive technology we are talking of. Though industries are yet to make a use of it, but then the way it is being adopted across, it shows that the end user is inclined towards moving away from a conventional process. So as I summarized, Industry 4.0, IoT, cloud, machine learning, and AI is something which seems to be of interest going forward in terms of technology adoption. So what do you
Uh,
have? Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Kushal. So, Mr. Sachu, given your experience in the industry, and also the fact that you come from an MSME, which has a global presence and also which can utilize global technologies. Uh, Given that as a consideration, how different are the factories shop floor today compared to say a decade ago?
Yeah, hello, good afternoon once again to all. So actually, on a single sentence, if I put the manufacturing industry has become more glamorous now. So we are coming out of the cliche like manufacturing units are very dirty places, unsafe places. So now the manufacturing units are looking more leaner, more cleaner, more efficient, and very safe because earlier that was the biggest concern that the manufacturing industry is not safe. There are a lot of accidents happening. So it's becoming far safer. And the lot of manual work has stopped now. A lot of automation coming into picture, the robotics coming into picture, and then we are talking about interesting KPIs like man to robot ratio. For example, my factory has a man to robot ratio of 1:7. So for every 7 manpower, we have a robot. So that is the kind of things which we are talking about. And the factories also have started looking very cleaner. Like we are, I won't say that we are trying to be like the Japanese factories, but we are on the same path. 5S, or we call it 6S. The safety also added as the last S. So the focus is very high. And the efficiencies are also going up. So earlier the production areas looked to be very huge. So they are becoming more and more compact, as Kushal rightly mentioned. So rather than being so fixed kind of production lines, we are talking about flexible production lines. And from mass production to batch production, we are talking about lot size ones also now. So in the industry 4.0 talks about lot size one. We can produce every product which is coming can be a different product. So we see a lot of flexibility happening, and the workstations also are looking like kiosks now. So like when we talk about industry 4.0, we are using PLCs, we are using computers in the station, and instead of paper work instructions, we are using video work instruction. So the stereotype is gone. Now the production floor also looks very high tech. For example, a good industry 4.0 or 5.0 production area looks like a media room. So we have more computers or monitors in the factory than in the offices. So we have huge displays showing the undone and the live display. And data acquisition is something which has really changed. So earlier, data quality and availability was a big concern. So now, because of this industry 4.0 IoTs, it's available on fingertips because every second the data is getting updated in the undone boards. So and it is accessible also. So and we talk about the connected factories also, like. Somebody in the maintenance need not come to office to repair a machine here or push a new program to the machine. So this is something which we were also forced to do during the Corona times because people were not able to come to office, but the production lines had to run. And one more statement I would make is like it was an eyesore earlier, the factories. Now it has become an eye-tone. Rather, factories are looking more beautiful. And one challenge, and people, that's a second, we can discuss it later on also, is to retain challenge, because software is a very glamorous industry. People like going there. So now we are trying to make our offices also so glamorous, and the production flows so not monotonous and looking very beautiful, so that we retain talent. So that's a difference I see in the past 10 years. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saju, for your opening remarks and comparing the earlier shop floors and today's. We have Mr. Vikas Mukhija, who comes from a festive company who provides solutions for automation. So how do you see the situation from that point of view? Mr. Vikas, can you hear us? If you can.
Yes, can you hear me, Rakesh?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I think there was some connectivity issue, so I kept my video off so that at least we connect and complete the panel discussion. So okay, taking some cue from what Mr. Kalra said, Saju said. So I would say is that whatever has been my experience, I would say is that people use automation which was fit for their current use. And people were always looking at return of investment, how fast I can get return of investment. So that was a criteria whenever people decided. And I would say another thing, like what we said was, see, if you look at from our manufacturing segment, MSAV has an equal contribution to our industrial output as the large enterprise. And you know what happens? The MSME have have a lot of constraints to go ahead for automation, which could be connected to maybe connected with respect to their finance aspect of it. They do not have the marketing bandwidth to showcase their scenario, and this is what is actually limiting their ambition or motivation to automate. So so what happens is that if you see our manufacturing output of India is growing, but contribution of manufacturing or industrial output to GDP is a cause, I would say, which is lower than any other developed country, I would say. So what we need to look at, how can we enhance contribution of manufacturing to GDP? Something like like China does. China is almost 27% of their GDP comes from manufacturing, and this is where there is a difference. Many times we see a lot of things in newspaper will talk of service sector. How is service sector contributing to the GDP? And this like Sarju said, this glamour is also putting some of the engineers to join the service sector. So what we need to do is up to some extent attract this talent back into the manufacturing segment, is what I would say. And also, if you see most of the areas, if you look at is that we have many areas that I observe, we have semi-automated line and automated line. Okay, and both are good, because that's what the enterprise feels is good for his business per se. So what if you want to go forward, I would say even the simple semi-automatic machine can also be converted into digitalization industry 4.0 by putting some sensors. So what you need is basically data tracking, which is coming from the machine parameters, and how can you act accordingly to that machine parameters that you can see. So this is what I would look at in a simple aspect.
Thank you, Mr. Vikas. Moving on, Mr. Agarwal. Agarwal, you have the experience of working with big corporates, and now you are also doing consulting for MSMEs or other SMEs. So how different is the SMEs of today's than compared to say 10 years ago, and what are the factors that are triggering these changes?
First of all, good afternoon to the co-panelists and to the audience. And thank you, Mr. Rakesh, for having me on the panel. Interesting question, so while, there was a conversation happening as to, how the shop floor has changed, how the manufacturing environment has changed. But when you look at the SMEs, MSMEs versus the large corporates, where let's say, a lot of us have been involved. So the fundamental change that I see now is that MSMEs, or the people who are associated with those organizations, are equally aware of the changes that are happening in the environment around them. Their aspirations are no less than a large enterprise or a large manufacturing conglomerate. Earlier, let's say 10 years back, one would have said maybe they are happy in the domain that they are happy to manufacture whatever they are manufacturing, and just maybe somehow either B2B, B2C, whatever, sell the product. That's no longer the case. The aspirations have changed. They want to grow, and they've realized that what they are up and against is a competition which is not just within their industry segment, which is not only in their scale of operation, but also with the larger conglomerates, larger corporations. So how do they really fight, or how do they really compete against those kind of organizations? That's one. Second is, the consumer or the customer set is still the same. So they are also targeting the same set of customers who are being serviced or, being catered to by large corporates. So for them, now it's all become a level playing field, which is a good as well as bad thing. So it's a double-edged sword in a way, but it's a level-edged playing field now available to them. So the fundamental shift which is happening, and which is what I'm observing as a part of, consulting assignments, as a part of, advisor to these organizations, is their aspirations are absolutely soaring high. They want to invest in technology. They want to compete. But where they actually struggle is the right kind of advice, the right kind of guidance, the right kind of inputs, and which are, of course, cost effective for them, which gives them the bang for the buck, gives them their ROI. So that is where they struggle. A lot of OEMs, a lot of suppliers today, they probably still cater to the larger enterprises, because that is probably where the larger, revenues are, the way the larger, let's say market for them apparently is. But the longer tail lies in the MSME sector, and which is where, they're going to be a huge potential. Coming to the second part of the question, Mr. Rao, which is around, what are those factors? Like I said, so one is, of course, these factors which are in terms of competition, in terms of, environmental factors. These are some of the factors which are triggering the changes on the shop floor. Now, there is competition, which we talked about. Then you have factors which are related to environment, to sustainability goals. Now, no organization is immune or insulated to such, changes in the environmental requirements, the sustainability goal requirements. Earlier, like someone said, yes, you could get away with a dirty shop floor. Maybe you could not have maybe waste management systems, or you were inefficient in the way how you were managing your energies. You could probably get away. I mean, you still make money at the end of the day. But now, as time passes by, you have to actually, do something about it. So that is bringing about changes in the shop floor, how organizations are operating, how their manufacturing processes are working. That's bringing about changes. Of course, there are developments, advancements, the industry 4.0, the IoTs, the robotics, all of those factors which are, of course, coming in. They are, of course, at least making people think what is it that they can do, how they can gainfully employ these technologies, how they can look at, better processes, how they can look at more efficiencies in the operations, how they can reduce the wastes. But they are looking at those kind of things and think, okay, maybe if I need to make changes in the shop floor, the way I operate at the shop floor, that is changing. Now, an interesting component which probably is not often looked at is the people, the manpower which is working on the shop floor. That people, those set of people, and okay, I think manpower, the terminology that we use is again a legacy of the past. It's more of a gender biased term. I think it should be the workforce that is working there, right? That workforce, it could be men or women or any other gender for that matter. Now, those people, right, have seen the world. They are becoming more and more aware. They are demanding it now. They can no longer function in an environment or a shop floor which is not at par with the best in the world. So a company would have a challenge attracting the best talent, which, let's say, earlier they never had a problem with. So those are certain subtle elements which are bringing about changes, other than the hard elements like the changes in technology, the changes in the way, the industry 4.0 components are coming, the robotics is coming, the AI ML things are coming. So which of course everybody knows about and talks about. So, but other than that, there are those factors. Then there are regulatory factors. Industries are getting regulated, at least in terms of how they are operating. And these are laws, these regulations are becoming more and more instructor, as time passes by. So I think these are a couple of factors, which are bringing about some changes in the shop floor. Let's do some.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. You just now touched upon the factor, the role of manpower, the human resource plays in bringing about these changes, being a triggerer as well as the implementer of these changes. Would like to hear from Ms. Niti Sharma, given the fact that your organization works in a B2B kind of an environment and the employment and skill development space. So how this changes in the shop floor and the manufacturing in general is leading to changes in the human resource space, or the HR space, in the last few years?
Sure. Thanks, Rakesh. Good afternoon, everyone. A very interesting question, because we've been hearing views from all other panelists about how the shop floor is changing. And obviously, if the shop floor changes, human resource has to change. We've seen that over the last few decades, HR has transformed from being a plain vanilla IR or a compliance-oriented function to a more evolved talent management function for the organization and for the manufacturing industries. It has undergone massive transformation over the last 2 to 3 decades, I would say. The modern day HR actually has come a long way from just being a support function to now becoming a strategic partner to the industries and to businesses at large. Early stages of transformation obviously witnessed HR being just business focused, supporting by just trying to understand what people need, what businesses need, understand business dynamics. And now, as we go along, we realize that HRBPs, as they're called, or HR business partners, are truly partners for businesses, for industries, for manufacturing shop floors, where they understand the micro and macro environmental influences and thereon decide the whole talent pipeline, bringing in people, retaining them, how to make them productive, effective, so on and so forth. So obviously, HR now has started playing a more meatier role in the whole business process. I would say they need to partner with industries, with their business partners to ensure that they create a high performing culture within the shop floors. Also drive engagement on a continuous basis, because for people and for ensuring people's performances are consistent and they grow, value creation is very important, which is part of HR role right now. And on the shop floor, clearly I'm seeing that the HR role is moving from just being commoditized to actually ensuring individuals start performing and individuals, gain out of the entire process that we are defining, or the HR teams are performing for, at the industries. Also today, I see that HR has become very flexible. Earlier, it was about processes and this is what I need to do and this is how I do it. They're today driving flexibility across organizations, trying to create flat organizations. And I'm sure my co-panelists will agree, many of them are managing large teams, that even at the manufacturing industry, the flat organization structure is being talked about and implemented in some places, enabling, creating the reward and recognitions, innovations, and most importantly, providing customized solutions crafted along with their business partners rather than just trying to become a support function. So I see obviously HR has come a long way right now, Rakesh, and needless to say, adoption of digital technologies and all of that is a given. So I'm not spending my time on that right now.
Thank you. The manufacturing segment is rather facing a lot of challenges, especially in the last 3-4 years, given the pandemic, and then it was followed up with a lot of uncertainty in the supply chain and the manufacturing facility itself. Mr. Saju, what are the key concerns for the manufacturers today?
Yeah, I will start from where Niti had left. So that's the first concern. So when we talk about the manufacturing, we talk about man, machine, material, methods, and all. So man is the primary concern. So see, what happened in the past 2-3 years is the requirement from the market has gone up a lot. So we need more automation in the lines to reach that kind of quantities in such small periods of time. So labor intense works are not supporting much. So there are limitations on which to which we can produce by a human. So more automation is required. So when automation is required, we need more competencies. That's a major area of concern now, because our curriculums also doesn't support industry oriented. There are very, very less industry oriented courses. So, okay, we feel that the Skill India initiative and Data IAS coming into picture might help this to a large extent, but it's only a small quantum of people we can get. But that is one area where it is going to be a big challenge in future to get the people with the right skill sets, because as I mentioned, for the first time ever, we have a software engineer in the manufacturing team. So they are working on the industry 4.0. So that was not heard of 5 years ago. If I say I need a software engineer, people will ask why you want a software engineer in a manufacturing industry, in the core manufacturing platform, because we are using a lot of softwares. We are in the smart factory platform. So that is becoming a challenge now. Then coming to the machine part, as more and more automation, more and more troubles because connected to the man side. So having uptimes is becoming a challenge, because when we have complex machines, so the breakdowns also tend to be complex, and the connectivity is also a problem. The internet connectivities, the LANs and all are a little bit of a concern now. So that is one point. The OEs and all, we are stagnant, more or less. We are not able to push it up because of these issues. Then the major other point, when we talk about the methods, all the problem is not exactly with the method, but the interconnection between the processes. For example, the planning function, the production function, the quality function, many times we see a lot of disconnect. So, and they are not aligned. So the planning will be going according to the market requirement. Production team will be going according to what is convenient for them. So a lot of disconnect is there. So connecting them and giving the right material or right plan at the right time is something which again needs a lot of improvement. And coming to the last thing, the environment also. So to produce without harming the environment. So that is also becoming a concern, because we see the overall quality of air, quality of water, everything is going down. So even if we accelerate the production, it should not affect the environment as well as the work-life balance of people. So these are the major things which we are seeing as a challenge even now existing after so many years. These problems were discussed, I think, maybe 10 years ago, but it has diluted a bit, but not over yet. That's my thought.
Thank you, Mr. Saju. Coming to Mr. Kushal, so just now Mr. Saju elaborated on the challenges that industry face. So how these technologies can help manufacturers to overcome some of these concerns of the industry?
Yeah, so Rakesh, I was listening to both Neeti and Saju, and to build it over from Mr. Saju left, primarily he touched upon the entire 4M man, method, machine, material, environment portion, and like some challenges around. So like to take it from like where he left, primarily on man, the upfront challenge what we see across, because since we are operating into a dynamic environment, everything is changing so quickly. So that upskilling has to be very important, and that right upskilling at right time. So at times we feel the set of resources are not equipped to handle such a task. So there are certain set of tools, primarily the way I have experienced, like both in consulting as well as for captive application, which helps into upskilling is one is AR VR technology, and like AR VR is something which we have been predominantly using it across for immersive learning, wherein you don't reach to go, like you don't need to go onto the shop floor to experience what is happening. So everything is being inbuilt into the VR modules, and you experience the entire immersive learning process, whatever is there on the shop floor. The other thing which I feel is that primarily when we do a large scale setups, primarily for project based companies, wherein we have to deliver the automated lines across customers which are outside the region, and you eventually don't have an opportunity to test out the line physically at the customer side, and that is something wherein an operator says that I have not even seen, or associate says I have not even seen what all are the bugs or what all are the issues before shipping the line to the customer. So there's a technology which is more of digital twin, wherein we create the replica of whatever we like we have been automating for a customer, and that replica gives you an advantage to like create all the water scenarios. Suppose you want to bend a sensor, you want to break a sensor, you want to switch off a motor, you want to if you want to create something into loop, something into digital to see whether this works or not in real time basis. So all those trials can be worked out beforehand, and like this is something which is new to experience for us, but at the same point of time these technologies are helping us to be prepared for that global competitiveness across, when we talk of scaling up this entire manufacturing sector to a 1 trillion or 5 trillion economy. So this is primarily on the man front. On machine front, we touched upon that we have issues which are on predictability, breakdowns, and like there are certain primarily niche technologies which is more on understanding conditional based maintenance. We talk of sensor based maintenance. We understand what are the vibrations into a machine. We use Google Glasses for like remotely assisting if there is a breakdown. So all these technologies are bringing that competitiveness, cutting edge, wherein we ensure that my like machines are up, the reliability or my efficiencies of the machine, primarily OAE, is being taken care of. On the method side, so we touched upon that since it's a environment wherein multiple functions are operating in, primarily like maintenance, planning, production, and at times they operate into silos. So the way I see technology which can add value here is more to bring it into integrated supply chain management. When we talk of digital maintenance, we talk of digital warehouse management, wherein everything is being stitched together in such a way. We talk of real-time asset tracking, we talk of real-time monitoring of machines. So everything is being stitched together in such a way that if at all there is a change happening in supply chain or into purchasing, the same change reflects back into like production. If there is a bottleneck into production, the same change goes and back, like get reflected into my supply chain. So integrated planning and primarily doing a discrete event, which will help you to realize whether in totality you win or you lose. So like these technologies primarily on algorithm machine learning helps you to predict what may go wrong, and also will help you to work out all the what if scenarios. Lastly, on environment, there are concerns across all the organizations, and one thing which I feel is driving like all of us towards one common goal is that we all have one earth to live on. So it's not just that I am living into India or someone living into US. At the end of the day, they're living on the earth, and the government regulations across all these countries are like so strict nowadays that you don't have any other option but then to like abide those like norms. So I'll talk of like cost competitiveness is still there. We talk of reducing the energy consumption costs. We talk of bringing in less water consumption. So everything is being taken care of by all the organizations. But then that typical governance from top to down, wherein we say that okay, this is something that we have to maintain in sanctity, is being taken care by government, and now all the organizations are by and large following it. So environment is primarily becoming a focus, primarily from investor point of view also. If there's an investor spending in or like investing into a business, he talks of whether it's a sustainable business or not, because he knows that tomorrow it's like there can be stricter norms which can affect the business. So and he wants to protect his investment. So he's primarily focusing on to investment which goes into a sustainable business.
Thank you, Kushal. Mr. Mukhija, how do you see this technology as an enabler to overcome some of the challenges that industry faces today?
See, I would say if technology has to act as an enabler, see, technology themselves cannot act as an enabler. It is basically human beings who create that scenario. So I would say if you look at first as a prerequisite for implementation of technology or as an enabler, it is, we need to look at two aspects of our workforce. So when we talk of technology automation, first we need to give assurance to the workforce that we need them. They should not feel as if they are going to lose job with implementation of technology or automation. And I see this as a major concern. And that's where sometimes the concept of automation or technology implementation can fall flat on the face. So what we need to is to first give them this confidence and assurance. We need that, we need them. We have to tell them that now, earlier they were using a lot of manual work, but now we need them to do higher quality of work at a higher level. For this, we need to first enhance their knowledge, which will, give them confidence. And also we should say very clear, see, we always have been looking after machine safety, a high cost machine handled with care and other things. What we also need to bring is that both human safety and machine safety, they will go hand in hand. So first is, the people aspect that we need to, really look at as a first level, I would say. And once this is done, then we as, enterprise have to become more proactive instead of being reactive. So one side look at the human beings, and other side then you talk about how can use the technology on the machine. So one concept that we all need to understand, that if in a manufacturing process, if you cannot manage or measure something, then you can never control that aspect. So what we need to do is to use products or lines in our production process, which can give a lot of feedback on the process and the quality. And we should be able to record and furnish and publish this data internally. Only when this is available, then you can use artificial intelligence to move towards what we call as a predictive quality, I would say, predictive maintenance on energy management. So this is what I would say on this. This is when, if you do this, then technology can act as an enabler.
You're on mute, Rakesh.
Unmute.
Thanks. Mr. Agarwal, how do you see as a technology as a prime mover and a shaker to bring in the paradigm shift on the shop floor?
Thank you, Rakesh. See, we've been options that are available to organizations who are into manufacturing space. See, I think the important element that we need to understand as a starting point is, what is it that we are doing? We are into a manufacturing process. We are producing something which is something physical, right? By the very nature of being into a manufacturing business. Now, the moment you talk of manufacturing as a process, production as a process, there are physical elements to it. There are plant and machinery, there are people, everything that people talked about. I'm sure everybody who's a part of this conference or this webinar is also aware of a term called OEE, overall equipment effectiveness, which is a very, very common terminology used in the manufacturing operations to see how effective or how efficient the manufacturing operations are. Now, when you look at those elements, or these components of OEE, which is like availability, quality, uptime, etc., and productivity, you look at what are the things that I need to do to really achieve that, to make my operations more and more effective, more and more efficient. And that is where all these technologies that we're talking about start coming into play. Now, when we talk of a paradigm shift, the paradigm shift is not going to be necessarily just in terms of, saying, okay, fine, I have deployed a technology and, I need to look at, what changes I can bring about. I think it has to be driven the other way. What is it that I'm trying to drive? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? Now, if I'm trying to bring about safety and a better working environment, then maybe I'll start looking at, the digital twins. I'll start looking at robotics. There are industries even today, let's say, which is iron and steel industry, metal industries. It could be oil and gas industries, which are, still pretty hazardous, pretty risky, despite all the safety, etc. Measures that they take. Now, those possibly are the areas where, we can start looking at robotics playing a role. Can robots, take over some of the hazardous jobs? So that could be one way to look at it. So far, we've seen robots being used very, very effective, maybe in warehouse management, in logistics. So that would mean a paradigm shift. That's one part. Second thing is, if you look at it, we are looking at a lot of advancement which has happened in AR and VR. When we say there's a level of usage which is happening there, when you're looking at essentially in terms of upskilling of people, training of people, knowledge enhancements, etc. But can the same also be associated and looked at in terms of, equipment uptime, the plant and machinery uptime, coupled with IoTs, coupled with some of the other sensor-based data? Can I start linking these technologies? I think so far, when we look at a lot of these technologies that we've been talking about, they still work in isolation, so to say. We've still not started integrating these technologies. We've still not started saying, okay, fine, I'm collecting data through my IoT ecosystem. What kind of analytics I'm doing on top of it, basis that analytics, am I able to, make changes into my, let's say, the shift patterns, into the way I operate my machinery, into my planning process. So a lot of that integration is yet to happen. So the paradigm shift will happen when a lot of these things start working together in conjunction with each other. So right now, okay, so there was a material and stores department, there was a production shop floor people, then there was a dispatch and warehouse. So they were working in isolation, and then came along something called ERP, and you implemented ERP with the hope that it'll at least integrate these processes, and you will be able to have some more meaningful and a streamlined way of working. It did achieve those objectives to some extent. Now we are talking next level of technologies that we all talked about. I don't want to repeat those names, but we're talking of those technologies now. But how these technologies are getting integrated with your core systems is going to be key. That's one part. Second part is going to be important is typically organizations, and these are the things which we don't like to talk about, at least in the forums like these, is that typically organizations have been structured around by a department called IT, and then there is a manufacturing department. So there is an operational technology called OT, and then there is an information technology, and now something called digital technology now, which is coming. How are all these three coming together? They are going to be organizational dynamics which will be at play. How do you bring these together seamlessly? All these elements, will, when you put all of these together, the technologies that we talked about, we put that together along with the cultural elements of the organization, and then say, okay, fine, this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is what my organizational goals are. So it's not just about one piece or the other. So technology is going to bring about that paradigm shift, provided a lot of these factors are also working in conjunction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. Ms. Niti, already a lot of panelists, I think one of the common thread or one of the common things that I've discussed is the HR, human resource and workforce. Given your expertise in this industry, how do you see this, having the right skills for managers at the managerial level, also at the workforce, at the people who are working on the factory are important to operating the modern factories of tomorrow?
Yeah. I would actually say modern factories of today. I guess you've already gotten there. And, you're right, because everyone's talking about how automation has made an impact at the workplaces. Earlier it used to be just a pair of hands and legs with maybe some brain attached, and some, obviously strong people, committed workforce. Mudit mentioned about why are we saying only a new manpower, and why are you not saying workforce? And I think traditionally we hired more men than women at Shopfloor, primarily because it was a heavy duty work that was expected out of the workforce. But obviously things have changed. Generations of manufacturing workers who use their hand skills to just sustain at the shop floor, that has gone completely. There has been a clear transition from mere assembly line style of working to technology driven manufacturing of today, right? Completely changing the way companies are operating, hiring talent, and viewing their businesses of the future. Also today, whether it's managers at the shop floor or whether it's the workforce, both men and women, I think the scope of expansion in terms of opportunity and skills is extremely, extremely high. Everyone's talking about AR, VR, automation, technology adoption. But when we look at hiring and when we talk to industries, obviously skills such as lean manufacturing, continuous improvement processing, fabrication, welding technologies, robotics, are a given. Everybody is expected, managers specifically are expected to know these skill sets, understand how things are changing. And if they don't, I think the expectation is that managers are agile enough to learn and adopt these changes on a continuous basis. If you're always going to say, nahi, aise hi chalta tha aur aise hi chalega, I mean, obviously the company is going to get impacted, employee clearly is going to get impacted. So that shift is there. Employers are looking at making those investments in ensuring that their managers, their workmen and women are skilled enough so that the transition happens easily. But along with the technical and the domain skills, people are talking about digitization and, digital fluency, data analytics, big data. Again, these technologies are never heard of in the manufacturing industry. But employers are hiring for these skill sets. Employers are ensuring that few of the managers are upskilled to understand and assimilate information that is required in the smart factories of today now. Because everything is moving towards automation. We are aware that, there would be, I think already there are certain redundant jobs that are obviously replaced by machines, right? Technology will take away, the day-to-day monotonous, low efficiency kind of jobs from humans. But what is required is how do we as humans use our creativity and use our thinking ability to do more than what just machines are doing, because machines cannot replace everyone. Machines cannot replace critical thinking. Machines cannot replace the human interactivity that is required, the collaborative approach that is required at any workplace, not just the manufacturing industry. But more so there, because automation is actually improving efficiency and productivity at shop floors. So obviously everyone will start adopting more and more technology and automation. It's our role as employers to ensure that employees learn the new skill and they are updated so that they don't become redundant. Of course, it's on the employees as well to believe that this change is important, and they make that investment from their end as well, not just in terms of money value, but also in time and effort. Having said that, I have seen that obviously the large manufacturing industries are putting in a lot of, I would say investments, time, effort, energy. Vikas mentioned in the initial start of the discussion about a term called ROI, and it's very, very close to my heart that if I'm making an investment, what's my ROI going to be? But very clearly, I think manufacturing industries are looking at higher productivity, higher efficiency, and higher retention when they make investments in upskilling, reskilling, and new skilling their workforce. Large organizations obviously do that. A lot of them have their own training centers in-house. Some of them work with people outside. Obviously, MSMEs and SMEs do not probably have very large budgets to upskill their workforce. But I see gradually even MSMEs are able to set aside a small percentage of their overall manpower budget to, as L&D budgets or learning and development budgets, as we call them, so that they are able to upskill their employees, which eventually will benefit the organization. The other area where I have seen consistent, The other area where I have seen consistent improvement from the manufacturing sector specifically is their investment in apprenticeships. Traditionally, manufacturing industries were hiring apprenticeships to bring in people, workforce at lower cost, and at least I have an additional manpower. He or she will learn on the job and do whatever is expected to do. But the mere definition of an apprenticeship has changed. Employers are willing to pay stipend while the apprentice is learning at the shop floor through the employer. And they're also willing to fund for their continuous learning, their education, and things like that. I mean, we use a term called degree apprenticeships or apprenticeship and embedded degree program. We've seen it's increasingly becoming popular with the manufacturing sector. And employers are more than willing to make that investment so that they start building manpower for their future requirements. So this is another area where I continuously see manufacturing sectors making a lot more investments and looking at results from them.
Thank you, Ms. Niti. Throughout this discussion, one of the aspects was manpower and another was the environment. And factories of future cannot operate without giving due consideration to the environmental issues and the climate change. Mr. Saju, given you come from an MNC company where in addition to your global mandate, you also have to have strategies in align with the country's mandate in terms of sustainability and the climate change goals. So how important are the environmental issues are going to be for operating factories of the future?
Yeah. So that's actually the most important part of discussion in the whole debate, or the panel discussion. See, the point is the purpose of any business is to make money, but at the same time we have a social responsibility also. So the point is, if I am as a person, I'm talking why I'm working. It's for a better future for my child or my daughter or my son. So if they can't have a better life in future, then what's the purpose of me making all the money? So the point is, even though we are running a business, we need to make money. We should not consume the earth. We should not consume the resources, and we should help process it again. Like just a basic example, water. So there is no industry in the world which doesn't require water. So water is required in different forms or different volumes in every business. If we start over consuming it or if we start spoiling it, then what is going to happen? And there was one of the important points mentioned that our manufacturing GDP is far lesser and our agriculture GDP is very high, our contribution towards the GDP. So if we spoil the earth, for example, we use a lot of plastics. If you send all the non-recycled plastics, throw away plastics, it is not only in an industry, but in personal life also, if you throw away plastics everywhere, the overall soil quality will go down and we are looking at a bleak future. So the point is, we need to sustain the resources. So for the business also to sustain, we need these resources. And even if we make money and if we make products and there is no human in the world, then what is the purpose? So that is why sustainability is very, very important. We talk about global warming and all. And in ABB, sustainability is very, very important. We are doing so many things for sustainability. Like most of our locations are either gold certified or our location is a platinum certified by IGBC. We have water positive with a water positivity index of 1.24. We are RE100 campus. We are using 100% the solar power. We are a single-use plastic-free campus. So we are doing a lot of things. So the point is, by improving sustainability, we are helping ourselves. We are ensuring that world sustains and we are there to enjoy our life later on. That's fine.
Mr. Was, how do you see environment as a critical factor in ensuring a smooth functioning of the factories? Mr. Kushal, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, my video was off. So Rakesh, so there are certain things which are inevitable, and to be a responsible organization is something which will become as an inevitable need in like coming time. So I'll share my personal experience while I was like working with Wipro. So there were certain aspects wherein we were very specific about the way we consume electricity, the way we consume water, the way we discharge our like effluents. So if everything was being primarily like monitored with an intent that can we reduce it, eliminate it, and that's the thought process was that we have to ensure that we have a safer environment, safer place to live in coming future. Now, I've also seen companies like Bosch, when if you'll see the tagline says make for better. So it says that, so if you'll see, so interestingly, like the components that they make, so they don't supply their components for war machines. And the intent is that we are here to live into this country peacefully. And like whatever we'll make will not get into any of the destructive purposes. So with that thought process, so there are like different companies who have different agendas to drive, primarily to take care of the society, take care of environment, take care of the way they want to foresee themselves 10 years down the line, 50 years down the line. So with that thought process, my takeaway is that, so these are certain things which one should feel to be an inevitable part of our business. And going forward, there are, and I know that there are a certain set of guidelines coming in from ministry, be it with respect to the way you use vehicle, pollution, environmental norms, discharge norms. In fact, I remember I was working with one of my clients in the north of India, and he was pressurizing me to immediately visit them to digitize their ETP system. So and the reason was that, like off late, the entire north of India segments of manufacturing was being pressurized by the ETP board that they have to monitor their ETP levels on real-time basis. And that was a driving factor for them that if they don't do it, they'll be penalized heavily. So all these things are being driven like both from the government and like from the government side, as well as the way the proprietor or a business stakeholder see the business has to grow. So in nutshell, the way I see this to be taking up shape in the near future is that the one who will miss this bus will perish, and the one who will ensure that they are sustainable in the way they are producing will grow.
Rakesh, you are on mute.
Sorry. So Ms. Nisi, how important will be the role of employees in achieving the green goals of the factories of the future?
So, obviously achieving the green goals through sustainable employment and work practices will have to be a collective effort of the management and the employees. It cannot be somebody's idea and nobody else is implementing it, right? So as employers, as management, I think factories or industries will have to continuously make their employees aware, make them partner to become successful rather than just telling them what to do and how to do. Give them opportunities to probably share their views, take up projects, so that there are green goals that the industry can actually achieve. They also obviously will need to be given a lot of training, some sort of why are we doing it? Why is it important? I mean, we started by saying that, if you use more plastic, how is it going to be bad for our earth? Today, even in schools, children are taught saying don't burst crackers so that, you save environment and have cleaner air and lesser pollution. And people living in Delhi clearly understand how October, November, December is so bad purely because of, high levels of pollution. So why should we actually be achieving green goals is very important, and creating that awareness and giving opportunity to employees is very, very important. Obviously, ensuring day-to-day workplace practices, are part of the strategy and part of the learning rather than just one fine day I decide to do it. Because all of this, whether it is Six Sigma, whether it is green goals, all of this have to become part of our life and habit rather than saying it is a must to do. I think once we inculcate that with our employees, I think everyone can collectively ensure that the industry's green goals are achieved.
Mr. Agarwal, how do you see technology can play a role in helping the companies to meet their green goals?
Thank you, Rakesh. I think, people know that when you're talking about environment and sustainability, we always talk about, reduce, reuse, and, all those kind of things, and recycle. So the point is, how can technology help in, really, achieving these objectives? Now, when you look at the energy part, now, be it a manufacturing organization, be it a service organization, the energy consumption, either on the side of manufacturing processes or in running the large offices, the facilities, the energy consumption is very, very high, right? How do you reduce that? How do you minimize that or optimize that? We are not saying that, if you have to switch on a light, you don't switch on the light, you switch on the light. If you have to run air conditioning, you run air conditioning, right? But can it be made more and more optimal? If you are running a facility, are you running air conditioning all throughout the building, or are you running it only in places where people are available or people are there? Do you have sensors? Do you have energy management systems which have sensors in place so that the lights are switched on only if there are people around? Right? So no energy is wasted there. Similarly, in your manufacturing processes, are you using the right kind of technology to see if there are energy efficiencies which are being lost? Is the energy being recycled? Is it being reused? If you are using heating in any of your manufacturing process, how much of that heat are you really capturing and bringing it back in the process? That's one way to look at it. So do you have those systems in place? Do you have the technologies which are supporting that in place? So technology there plays a critical role. And when we say technology, I'm not really saying from the perspective of digital technology, which somehow in today's parlance, technology has become synonymous with digital technologies. No, I mean, technology is an overarching term, right? It need not be just about digital technology. There are a lot of other technologies and engineering available to us. So from a technology point of view, are we using those technologies that are available? Are our buildings, green and certified? Are we using the building management systems which are to be there in place? So the technology will play a greater role in doing all of that. How much of renewable energy are we using? So people, of course, have started moving towards that. But are we measuring that? Yes, if my energy consumption is so many, megawatt hours in a year, out of which am I using 5%, 2% of renewable energy? Or is it, an insignificant amount and it becomes a good press that, yes, I'm using solar power. I have solar panels on my rooftop. or are we really using it as a significant component of my energy consumption? So that's something that we need to look at. Organizations, these days, of course, are pursuing the sustainability goals, the environmental goals. There's a concept of carbon credits. I'm not sure if everybody understands that. There's a concept of carbon credits, right? There are organizations which want to be carbon neutral. In an effort to be carbon neutral, if of course they undertake their own goals, they undertake their own practices, like Saju was talking about from ABB point of view, they take on a lot of initiatives, but the companies at the same time are buying carbon credits in the market in case they want to come out as sustainable organizations, as organizations which are environmentally, let's say, aware and responsible. So there's money which is being spent there. So the choice is, do you spend money in buying those carbon credits and becoming carbon neutral? Or do you invest in your own processes and technologies and see how you can become organically carbon neutral? So that's something that, that's where technology starts coming in to the rescue. So waste management, I mean, these are things which are known, right? The question is, are we deploying those technologies? Yes, there'll be digital, there'll be other elements of, the other technologies. They go hand in hand, it has to be coupled. And yes, technology will play a very, very critical role in organizations being greener, at least, or moving towards that greener goals, objectives. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Makija, what is your take on this whole idea of using technology to meet the sustainable development goals of the company?
So I think first, before we do anything, first of all, we should be very clear. Whichever enterprise wants to do it, first they need to have a sustainable philosophy embedded in their organization, and it has to be top down. And every employee in the organization understands the concept and the background and the reason why we are having this sustainability goal. That is very important first, if you want to make this a success. Otherwise, we'll be only talking about meeting some number games of carbon neutral scenario, which is also, nothing wrong in that, but you have to look at from a sustainability, since we're talking about a sustainable topic. That's number one. And I would say number two would be, the goals, whatever goals we got, depending upon the type of enterprise. So companies like ABB or Festo, which are, multinationals, they would be focusing on the global climate norms and would be having sustainability goals connected with the global norms, I would say. Whenever you are in India, we should also, this is where, all the enterprise and every citizen of the country should first understand what is the sustainability goal of the country. So if you ask anybody who is there in this panel, ask them if any one of us has ever read what is the sustainability goal, whatever Prime Minister Modi is, driving. So if you understand these 2-3 topics and have a strategy in place, and it should be a living strategy or a living document which is there. It is just not on a PowerPoint which is there hung in computers or on the scenario. So number one, understanding and then implementing is what I would first talk about that. And second is that, when we talk about sustainability scenario, so both the sides we need to work at. One is, whatever we are using, be it electricity, be it water, what can we do? Or whatever packaging material that you are using, how can we, look at these aspects which can, help us reducing, see, people are looking at, when they talk of energy, they are really looking at energy cost for deciding the any of the technology. What we need to look forward is, in your manufacturing process, what are you doing beyond this, putting solar panels or, using recyclable packaging material? What are you doing in your production facilities first to reduce the carbon emission which is coming? So one side you have to see, what are you doing for the environment scenario in a proactive way, and in another proactive way, reduce it every production scenario. For that, I think first we have to learn to look beyond what we are doing, and there should be clear, it should come from the heart that this is what I want to do, not for any number game or anything just for a show business scenario per se. That's what I would say. When this cultural change is there, that's where all this sustainability will be real sustainable over a long period of time. And then when we talk about it, like I said, digitalization is what we should do. And you need not have to, for putting digitalization, you do not have to throw out your existing machinery or whatever it is. Talk to domain experts, ask them how they can help them converting the existing semi-automatic line or automated line into a digital facility where, it is more friendlier and easier and efficient. Traceability is what we are looking at, health of the machine, what is the scenario. And I would say when we talk of robotics, I would say in India, we should talk more of cobots and talk cobots with a human touch always. How humans and cobots can work together to enhance productivity. And most important, when we're looking at productivity, we should look at how consistent it is and how it can produce a better quality product, what we are having. From that aspect, I would say. And like we said, Industry 4.0 is definitely, can help you in your sustainability goals, because that's where your machine is, talking to each other. A network of machine which is talking to each other there, instead of being working in isolation, energy efficient. And our machine, I think gone are the days we should talk of downtime. Now we should is my production facility. Rakesh, you could hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. There is some internet issues with at your end. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I finished giving my inputs on this topic.
Okay. Thanks.
You're on mute.
Sorry. So with this, we come to an end of this panel discussion. We will take a final question to all the panelists. I would like to hear from all the panelists, what would be your one or two tips or suggestions for companies to make their shop floor future ready? Starting with Mr. Kushal.
So Rakesh, so like listening to all the like panelists today, one thing which I now very strongly believe, two things that will help like organizations to grow towards this like factory of future. One is upskilling their like manpower to make them ready to use the new technology coming in. And the second thing is invest into technology. When I say invest into technology, appropriate automation or appropriate technology advancement. Like these two things is something which I believe strongly will help organizations to be ready for the future. Rakesh, you're on mute.
Mr. Agarwal.
So one is upskilling of the existing employees. The second thing is they have to invest into technology primarily to start with automation and then to get into the IoT phase.
Mr. Agarwal, what will be your suggestion or tips?
I think, to my mind, one of the most important elements for companies to be able to, embrace these technologies, make their manufacturing smart or shop floor future ready, is going to be the cultural shift, right? It's a softer element, but I think this is really the harder element. It's a lot of things when you're going to do, in terms of technology deployment. These changes are going to be around the culture that your organization is into right now. Everything boils down to, at the end of the day, people who are going to be, involved in the activity. And people is, the way they operate, the ethos of the organization, the culture of the organization, that is going to fundamentally change if you are going to make changes in the way you work. The organizations are going to make changes in the way they work, right? Now, to bring about those changes, there has to be a cultural shift. Now, the way the cultural shift happens right from the very top. Be it, the CEO, the chairman, the MD, whoever, or the board. The shift has to happen there. There has to be a clearly demonstrated commitment to the change that the organizations are talking about. And of course, the willingness to invest in it. That's second element. So that has to percolate down the time. be it in terms of the trainings, be it in terms of awareness creation, be it in terms of initiatives, etc., etc. So that's one element. Second element, I think the organizations which we should definitely be cognizant of and mindful of is that they should be willing to accept failures. They should actually start rewarding trials. They should start rewarding failures. Of course, I mean, there has to be a certain, ifs and buts and conditions associated with it. But the point being that, failure should not be looked down upon, because when you're going to try out new things, there is bound to be failure. There are bound to be setbacks. So is your organization culturally ready for that? Is your organizational culture, going to accept those failures and still motivate people to move on, try out new things, still continue to do those things? I think, to my mind, these are going to be the two important elements for organizations in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Niti, what is your take on this?
So Rakesh, smart factories will clearly dominate the manufacturing industry into the future, right? Adopting and enabling employees to coexist with technology, product, machines, and tech-driven processes is going to be very, very critical. So upskilling them, hand-holding the employees will be important. And I think that's what I would leave saying, ensure that that manufacturing industries are able to enable their employees to coexist by upskilling, hand-holding, and reskilling their workforce.
Thank you. Mr. Saju, what's your suggestions for the company?
There are two more points which I would like to add. See what I've seen from my experience, because we had been in the smart manufacturing journey from 2017. So one point what we always say is get the basics right. Well, when we talk about India, we still don't know how to do lane driving. So basics are still a problem for us. So get the basics right. And if the processes are not good, so there is no point in digitalization. Like in quality, we always say that garbage in, garbage out. If your system is garbage, then you're digitalizing garbage. So get the basic processes perfect. Otherwise, there is no point in digitalization. And second, coming to the digitalization. So why I'm talking about digitalization is when we talk about factory of future, it's basically digitalization. So, but many times what we do is we buy all technologies, AR, VR, and end of the day, after 1 year, there is no use of it. So we need to have a proper vision and for purpose of what we exactly want to do, exactly what we want to achieve. And we also need to keep the sustainability part, like rightly mentioned by Mr. Budit also, we need to have the BMSs, the LM things, and we should keep sustainability definitely a part of it, because if there is no sustainability, there is no future. So these are the two main things which which organizations need to take care if we really want to be successful, to be a smart factory of the future. Okay.
Mr. Vikas, what is your suggestions for the company?
So I would say, if you see today, unlike past, earlier the technology would be introduced, in Germany or in America or in some other developed country, and then it would come to India after some time. I would say they would always say India is still as a country not ready for this deployment immediately. But I think fortunately for in today's scenario, this time gap is now next day, I would say, or same day, I would say. So from that angle, that the best of technology is already available for everybody to access now, unlike past. And that's what, and we should think that our market, generally the enterprise India think their market is that same territory or same state or country. What we need to look at, have that confidence that our market is global topic, and global market is what we should compete. And that's how we can, look at the topic. These two things. And third thing, I think never has been the government which was so pro, focusing on manufacturing segment, pushing targets, talking about it, at least 5 trillion economy and other things. So one side you have technology available, one side you have the government who's, strongly supporting the manufacturing industry. So never there has been this kind of platform available for the industry, I would say. It's up to us how we use this production link scheme, each one of us, to benefit not only for your personal benefit, but look at benefit of the country as such overall, I would say, and enhance the contribution of manufacturing to GDP. That's one aspect I would say. Second aspect, I would say, we talked about upskilling workers. I think this is where little bit we have to go beyond. The companies or, which are into automation, which are into technology scenario, we need to look at the young students and we have to catch them young. We should not say that, when you join the company, this is when you will learn. I think there are gap between academy and institute scenario and industry has to dramatically reduce. It can never be 0-0, but a genuine attempt needs to be made by the industry to reduce this gap. And I would say whenever the enterprise is talking about any kind of sustainable organization or sustainable technology, they need to look at overall cost of ownership of the technology deployment rather than only looking at return of investment. So this is what I would say. And only if you have this kind of thought process and approach, then you can aim for what we call as a network, versatile, or learning production system.
Thank you, Mr. Vikas. So we have a few questions from the audience. I will take a couple of them. First question is modernization of shop floor always capital intensive, and are there cost effective ways to upgrade factories? Can anybody from you, Mr. Kushal, can you take this question?
Sure, Rakesh. So Rakesh, so it was like all depends on situation, what kind of development or what kind of improvements you are looking for. I remember someone mentioned during the discussions today that there are technologies primarily when it comes to digitizing the legacy machines in the system, wherein we have sensors across which we can like retrofit onto the machines, which can digitize our existing systems as well. So like there might be an incremental cost, but then I really don't see that everything comes with a capital investment. Capital investments might come, might not come, but then there are ways and means out wherein you can bring in the low cost sensorization across your legacy machines to digitize them. So the second thing which I want to put up straight away is the cost of ownership of technology. I don't know, we have been living in an era wherein the technology itself is like the cost of ownership is going down. So we have been talking of 5G, we have been talking of connectivities across the machines, which earlier at some point in time was very difficult. So upfront, when we talk of connectivity, the cost of connectivity has gone down, and 5G plays a very important role there. The challenge still lies with MSMEs, and if you are talking of MSMEs, the upfront challenges, if at all they are looking for a platform cost, which itself costs like close to around some 3 crores or like 2.5 crores. For them, investment into a platform to digitize everything may not be a wise approach. So there are point solutions available which they can start off with, and those points like solutions should have hooks across that they are scalable. So a deep market study is to be done, like what kind of development they're looking in for. And my understanding is that there are still like low cost technologies and solutions available which can like serve the need of the purpose. Like there is no cookie cutter answer for this question. It all depends on what we are looking in for. And my experience is that it is both on the low cost side as well as on the high cost side.
Thank you, Kushal. Anybody else wants to come in for this question? Okay. So next question.
So Rakesh, I would say, like Kushal said, both topics are available. If I were to answer this question primarily as a Festo guy, I would say both sides of automation are available. Low cost automation is available, and I would say a higher technology is also available. Customer needs to decide what is it that they are looking, what is their goal, what is their expectation, and then only once you know all this data, then only you can decide the investment that that you would need to do for this automation per se.
Thank you. The second question is, how important will be the government policies and schemes to make factories future ready? Mr. Agarwal, would you like to take this?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Rakesh, for the question. I'll repeat for the benefit, and for my own benefit. The question is, how important are the government policies for the benefit of the factories of future, right? Is that the question?
To make factories of the future, to make factories future ready.
Make factories.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think like everything, government policies, of course, play a very, very critical role. And I think, they also play a role as a catalyst, to a large extent, when you're looking at the right policies and right procedures being in place. Of course, they can work absolutely the opposite if they are not really, designed properly. But where they help is, when you're talking of the right policies being there from the government side, it's going to be again probably linked to maybe the first question. Are these policies, first of all, enabling you? And here I would probably, look at more on the SME side or the MSME side than large enterprises, because they are the ones who will need these policies much more maybe than the larger corporates, larger enterprises, who I would say have better resources at their disposal. So some of these policies will have to be aligned towards, the upliftment and the factories of the future as far as MSMEs are concerned. Are they getting the right kind of financing? Are they getting the right kind of, let's say push? Are they getting the right kind of maybe, incentives? If they invest in such kind of technologies, if they go for, sustainability goals, etc., etc. So yes, policies in a nutshell would play a critical role for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Agarwal. With this, we come to an end of this panel discussion. I would like to thank all our eminent panelists for sharing their valuable insights on the topic, on such an important topic. It was a pleasure to have all you here during this panel discussion. I would also like to thank our audience for supporting this event. With India getting ready to be the manufacturing hub of the world, IPF's 3I Expo and the Factories of the Future conference will present a unique opportunity to all stakeholders to come on one platform for discussing ways to make India's growth story, to take India's growth story forward. We would request all our industry colleagues to participate in the 3I Expo and the Factories of the Future show at Nehru Center, Mumbai on May 19th and 20th, and take advantage of the knowledge sharing forum to create new business opportunities. See you all at the 3I Expo in Mumbai in May. Till then, goodbye. And once again, thank you all your panelists for your contribution to making this panel discussion a great success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rakesh.
Thank you, Rakesh,
Thank you,
for this
everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.